Hey, we're recording. What's up, man?
How you doing, brother? How's everything?
I'm doing amazing. Thank God. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Are you sharing with the audience what just happened recently, or you keeping that close to the hip? Close to the hip for now.
We're having another child.
Okay.
And hopefully this one comes with a warranty.
So, maybe a how-to guide.
Complimentary maintenance.
Congratulations.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it feels good.
Yes. Are you guys gonna play catch up? Are you gonna like get that baby working like right away? Up to
We've applied for working papers already. Hopefully that gets approved ASAP. So she can start contributing to the household. Podcast ain't making no money, so we need to be sitting here talking. Somebody's got to work. Get after it, kid. That being said, welcome to Products of Circumstance, podcast with Ken Skeen and myself, Fenton Joseph. We discuss mental health and mindset matters through the lens of Black men. The show is unscripted, unfiltered, and mostly unedited. We choose our topics randomly, and Ken's going to tell us what we're going to talk about in a second. But first, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and share with somebody who's on their personal development journey. And that being said, my fellow girl dad, what are we talking about today?
Today will be taking steps backwards in order to move forward. So what's the thing? You take 2 steps back in order to take 1 step forward, 1 leap forward. All right, so it's going backwards in order to go forward. It can relate to work life, it can relate to family life. It can just relate to your life in general. Different circumstances where you had to step back for a sec, view the entire painting, as they say, when you have like a Renoir, maybe a Picasso painting you're looking at, you got to step back for a sec so you can see the entire picture. So, me personally, I've taken steps back. All right. So let's see the career I'm in right now in auto sales. I used to be in construction. If you've listened to previous episodes, you know that I was 3rd generation carpenter. And in 2008, the construction field just took a nosedive, a literal just nosedive. And in 2010, I had to change industries because I had 2 children at that time. Not the 4, the beautiful children I have right now, but 2 of them were here. And had to figure out, how to put food on the table and keep the lights on. So I actually, took my resume in hand, project supervisor in Manhattan for a large company doing renovations, contractor, business owner, you name it. Took that resume to a car dealership and they looked at it and said, this means nothing to us. You're overqualified for this position, and it doesn't mean you can sell anything. You got 30 days to prove yourself. After 30 days, we can decide whether or not this is right for you. So yes, I went from commanding a team of people on a job site doing $1 million build outs and hospital renovations at that time. In Manhattan, blueprints, structural integrity, the whole nine, running conduit for electric. And I had to step back and restart a brand new career that I had no intention of ever getting into. And that's now a little over 13 years, about 13 years ago now. Wow. A little over, maybe a month over that I've been in the car industry. And, I worked my butt off and became a manager 3 years later. So that'd be 2013. But really had to step back and really refocus my life and priorities and learn a brand new industry while using techniques that I picked up along the way in construction of a leadership role. But it means nothing. It means nothing in this industry. You're really restarting and learning something new. And I guess that could be for anything when you have to, take 2 steps back to take 1 leap forward. Whenever you have to learn something new, it's either you're going to have the mind frame to do it and really just stick to your guns, or you're going to just fizzle out and I guess just fall off where you stand.
People don't talk about that enough. I think when we talk about taking a step or 2 steps back to take a step forward, is that there is a huge risk associated with it, which is that you might not end up taking that step forward. It's like you could end up taking a step back and being stuck. And I think maybe things like, I don't know, I think of taking a gap year in college. You know, it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to take some time, figure out, who I am, what I want to do, and then I'll, catch up. And it's like, no, you really are playing catch up. Like your friends that went to school, stayed in school, they're now in their sophomore year. You're coming into freshman year. Maybe you never start your freshman year. 2 years go by, and you're like, so my question to you is, how did you stay motivated, knowing that you really were kind of playing a game of catch up? Since you took that step back to start completely fresh in a new place, like how did you stay motivated and not let, not be overwhelmed, by the task ahead of you?
Oh, please. No, I was overwhelmed. Don't think for 2 seconds. Don't think for 2 seconds I was not overwhelmed. Look, I'm not saying it made it easier, but it made me have more of a go out there and get this, because I had 2 children at home. I had my wife at home. So that was that was part of my motivation. Other than having the need to succeed at whatever I do, that's also part of it. But if I didn't have 2 children at home, I probably would have left New York and tried to find something else, construction somewhere else, maybe out of state, out of the country. I don't know what I would have done if I wasn't married with 2 children at that point. I really don't know. But a lot of my motivation went to, I have to support my family. Right. So I need to figure something out. And it looks like there were just a bunch of ads for car salesmen.
Right.
That was it. I didn't choose. I didn't want this. I was applying over and over for I guess to try to get into unions. I was trying to get into any kind of project supervision I could, but we all the entire industry took a nosedive. So I had maybe 5 to 6 years experience as a project super, but you had project supers and managers with 20 years experience that were trying to apply for the same job I was.
Wow.
You had one with 40 years experience applying for the job that they were. Everyone was fighting for the grip. So, there's 3 job openings with 3,000 people applying for it. So that's when, my wife and I had to sit down and really take inventory and say, maybe it's time to move on to something else. Which it was tough. It was, I'm not going to front. It was a tough pill to swallow to say, what I'm so used to, this is my comfort zone. I know construction. I've been reading blueprints since I was 15 years old. That comfort zone, I had to get it, which is another episode we've talked about, really getting out of it. I mean, you want to talk about getting out of it, man. And the commission-based business sales, people are terrified when they hear commission, like, oh, I have to actually work to get paid, not sit at my desk and play Tetris for an hour, take 5 bathroom breaks, a cigarette break, a coffee break, and I still get a paycheck on Friday.
Right. No,
if you don't sell, you don't get money. Because trust me, you're not in auto sales for the weekly check they give you. You're barely getting groceries with that the weekly check you get. You're in there for commission-based sales, so you got to sell. So you better learn quickly how to speak with people, and thankfully I'm already good with numbers. But yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, there was no real plan in the beginning. It was figure it out.
I have a question. Would you say that? How much of a role would you say that self-belief plays in staying motivated? Because you talk about sales, and it's like people hear commission. I think when people don't want to do commission jobs, or they get a fear of not being able to make the commission, make the sales and make the commission, I think it's self-doubt, right? Because it's on your shoulders. It's like, I got to go out there and I got to close these deals. And I think overwhelmingly people just don't believe that they can get it done. Would you agree with that? And how much self-belief and confidence did you have in your ability to go out and sell, even though you hadn't done that before?
So I'll first touch on the first thing you said, how motivated you had to stay. Listen, motivation can come and go.
Fact.
That's a fact. Period. You can wake up one day and not be as motivated as you were the day before, but you better believe in yourself. Even just you're allowed to have doubt. All right. I'm not going to sit here and say never doubt yourself. You're allowed to have doubt, but you got to fight through that. You got to push through it and say, even with any of the doubt in my head, what if I'm great at this and I never knew it? So I really went on that whole notion of I need to figure this out because I'm putting a lot of hours in. This is probably after like a month I was into sales. I think I sold my first vehicle. It was about a week and a half after I started, because you know they put you through like a week of training. You're shadowing people on how to talk to clients, how to talk about the product, whatever it may be. But a week and a half went by before I sold my first vehicle. It was a minivan. I do remember that. And we didn't have it in stock, and we had to be located. We couldn't locate a deal. Ended up dying. My second deal was for an SUV, and there's a mother and daughter. And I remember it was a green Liberty, and that deal ended up going out. And it was the feeling of, wow, I made my first sale. Mm-hmm. I got hooked. Okay. Not everyone does. And I could say it's because I'm a people person. I could say it's my charm. I could say it's my go-get. I've seen people that are charming, motivated, self-motivated, and great at talking with people, and they're horrible in sales.
Right. I've
seen people that are shy, don't like talking to people, and they're amazing at sales. An introvert, amazing at sales, while an extrovert is horrible. So it's not, I don't want people to feel like you have to be this outgoing person who's smiling all the time. As long as when that client is in front of you and you're giving your all and you're representing yourself in the dealership you work at properly, you have a higher chance of getting that sale. So I wasn't worried whether or not I was going to succeed. I knew in my head I had to.
So how many, okay, another question I want to ask in my head, but I'm going to figure out how to phrase it. Do you think it's possible to take too many steps back?
Yes, but that's my opinion. How many steps back are you taking? What's too many? Because it's fine to take a few steps back, but how far back are you going before you go into some dark place? Because now you've dug a hole too deep. What are your thoughts on that, though? Maybe you have a different opinion.
I think you should at least be able to see the light.
Okay,
so you don't want to go so far back that you're like, I don't see a path forward. I think some people just miscalculate, and they're like, yeah, no, if I step away from this or try this other thing, I should be able to make this work. And then they maybe just haven't considered all the complexities. Doing something new it's challenging. It doesn't matter what it is. One of the most humbling things I've ever done in my life was becoming a waiter, a server at a restaurant. I was like working with high school kids. I was grown. This is after I got engaged. So I was 33 or 34. I don't remember. But I was working with kids who were in high school, and they were running circles around me. All right. I'm working for $8 an hour. They're working for less, and they're running circles around me. And I figured, I'm a smart guy. I've been in corporate world. I got a resume. At that point, I'd even had a business, and I was an entrepreneur already. With all that experience, it didn't matter. I couldn't carry a tray with some water on it, 10 feet. And I couldn't quite wrap my head around, how they instinctively knew to go by a table at this time, and to offer this, or, when they're ringing up a check, what I'm saying? Like how to punch stuff into the computer and how to memorize an order at a table without writing every single thing down and dictating, you know.
That's cool.
These kids had it together, and it taught me, this old dog, some new tricks, you know. And I think the thing that I took away the most was like, if you throw yourself into something, you can figure it out. I became a really good server over time, but I had to work really, really hard at it. I remember my wife was quizzing me with flashcards, because there's one place I was working at two different places at once. And the second job I took was at this fancy place in Long Island. And we had to learn like the ingredients in the salad dressing. And you had to know like every ingredient that was on that plate, you had to know inside out. Because what if somebody had an allergy, right?
Oh, okay.
It's like, oh, sir, what's in this, Caesar dressing? Are there anchovies? Because I have a seafood allergy. It's like, oh yeah, there's no anchovies in there. Yeah, there are. And now they're dead. And, that's a problem.
Damn, you just get an EpiPen, I'm saying.
Woo. No EpiPens. She was quizzing me, helping me to memorize all this stuff. I was like, this was a proud moment for me. I remember when I passed the test, and I answered all the questions, and I was like, okay, you're now a server. And I was like, this is amazing. I can't believe I did it. But how should I say this? That feeling of committing myself to it, learning new skills, getting the job, officially. By the way, as a server at this restaurant, you had to serve the manager. That was like your final test. After you took the written test, all the ingredients and everything else, you had to know the name of the paintings on the wall and who painted them. And the manager sat down in the corner like a regular customer, and you had to serve your manager like impeccably. Mm-hmm. And I remember when she told me, all right, you passed. I felt just as good doing that as I did landing my first website client, getting my first job in the ad industry, becoming a, director of corporate communication, whatever. I was just as invested in what I was doing there as I was in any of these so-called, fancy, corporate or entrepreneurial things. And so it really taught me to like enjoy the journey. You might be taking 2 steps back. You might feel like the thing that you're doing isn't really, anything to write home about. It may not be that glamorous. Other people are doing other things. Trust me, my friends in their mid-30s were not waiting tables. They were doing really big things at big companies. And I had to that's just noise. This is my journey. This is where I'm at right now. Yeah, I had a fancy gig. I had to take 2 steps back. And, 10 years later, whatever, now I own my own business and I get to be Mr. CEO and wear my company clothes and, oh yeah, Fenton's doing great. Life is good. Yeah, I had to take 2 steps back to take that step forward. But I definitely always believed in myself. I definitely always believed that I could do it. I have, faith in God was no small part of it. And a spouse that really believed in me as well and was willing to support me. She never kicked me when I was down. She was right there with me in the trenches, making sure, hey, you know what? If you need somebody to quiz you on the ingredients in the Caesar salad dressing, baby, we gonna get this done because you're gonna get this job. And if you gotta wait tables, you're gonna be the best waiter. And she was, man, I give her so much credit because I don't think I would have gotten that waiting job without my wife. I don't see it.
That's legit.
I'm not the greatest studier. That's not my thing. Mm-hmm. She went to college. I didn't. She knows how to study.
That means nothing.
Well, she learned how to learn. She learned how to learn and study in a way that works for her.
Right.
She had 4 more years. Well, she had graduate degrees. She has more experience in how to study and how to prepare and things like that than I do. And I was never a good test taker in school anyway. So what I got from her was like the structure that I needed to help me retain the information. And it didn't matter if I forgot it all the day after, the day I took that test, she had me prepped and ready to go. And so I'll be forever grateful. Thanks, baby. Appreciate you.
Yeah, but people need to just realize it's okay. Sometimes you gotta fall back for a sec. Take inventory on life. It sounds corny, but it's real. And it doesn't matter what age you're at. You could be 17, 18 years old, like you were saying, trying to figure out if you want to go to college right now. Maybe you want to go travel. Maybe you already know what you want to make. Vocational school. I know we're so stuck on this whole thing of college. All right. But there's a lot of people out there with college degrees, a high percentage of people with college degrees. And they're servers right now. I'm not putting down the service industry, by the way. I'm saying they're getting paid well in that area. Or they go to school for, like I went to school for graphic design. I ended up doing construction my entire life, and now I'm in sales. So just because you have that diploma doesn't mean that's your end all be all. It doesn't mean that's the end of your story. Sometimes you got to fall back for a sec, take your 2 steps back. And like Fenton was saying, as long as you can still see that light, take 5 steps back, but just know what you're going for, or figure it out on the way. That's why you're supposed to write your plans in pencil so that you can change it as you go, So don't change the goal. You can change the plan, just don't change the goal. Or figure out and when you hit that goal, celebrate it and get to your next one. And maybe once you hit that goal, you got to take another 2 or 3 steps back again in order for you to take the path or the plan that you've laid out for yourself towards your next goal. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, because
I think it's healthy.
You're always going to be taking steps back. That's the other thing. Life is, if we look at ourselves, we're constantly taking a step back, having to learn something new, or you have a setback, you know what I'm saying? Like something pushes you back, the rug gets, pulled out from underneath you, that life happens that way. And it's completely out of your control. Sometimes it's not a conscious decision for you to say, all right, I'm a put myself back here so I can move forward. And why wouldn't you, how do I say this? Scratch that thought. I'm going to move to something else. People who are in college, because we brought up degrees a couple of times. I think it's important for people to know that you can go to school, get a degree, and one, not end up working in the, in the field of your, degree. But more importantly, things that you learn in college, it's like you learn how to learn, you learn how to execute, you may learn how to write, you may learn how to get more organized. Like the experience that you have in college it's not always focused on the thing, the area of expertise. You know what I'm saying? Like you could go to school to become a dentist and end up applying things that you learned in dentistry school in some completely different field. I think it was the CEO of Shopify, if I'm not mistaken. I always want to say Spotify, but it's Shopify, the website company. One of the things that he says is that a lot of the people in his orbit that work with him in leadership and like middle management, they're entrepreneurs. They have side hustles, right? And the things that they do on the side, their passions, they bring all that stuff to work with them. And that's what makes them really awesome at their jobs, because they have a lot of insights, right? Things that are not related to building Shopify, but they are, because it helps them to understand the consumer base better. It helps them to empathize with people. And when you're building a product for people, like you gotta be good at that. And so, me being a web designer, the only reason I'm a really good web designer is because I'm really good at branding. I was a brand manager for a long time. Because I'm a marketer, because I was a project manager, all these things that I did because I'm a musician, actually. That was a big part of it too. Because as a musician, my band needed a website. I learned how to build websites. We did photography. We learned Lightroom. We learned Photoshop. We learned, sound editing, like all these things, and graphic design, obviously. All these things come from different experiences in my life that I now pull together, and I'm a bit of a unicorn. I'm a web designer that can do a lot of different things, and I can talk to people, and I can sell. Oh, because I did sales. Because I ran client relations for a mortgage company. So I've got all of the different hats that I can wear to run a business successfully. And I took a lot of steps back. I started a new job. That meant I was the new guy that knew nothing, and I had to work my way up. And then I went in a different industry and did the same thing there. And then now I look like a rock star. Now I look like a rock star at 42. I didn't look like a rock star at 21. I wasn't a rock star at 25. I wasn't a rock star at 31. It didn't make sense yet. I hadn't taken enough steps back, but that last final push, now it's like, oh yeah, no, Fenton, he knows everything. He could do everything. It's like, it was a lot of taking steps back and feeling like I wasn't the man and feeling like I didn't know anything for a long time in my life.
Yeah.
So sometimes you gotta just appreciate the journey and know that in the end, it's all going to pan out, make you a better person.
Nice wrap up. I like that.
I love when you say nice wrap up.
No, because I don't want to beat a dead horse, but that's a good way to wrap it up.
That's what's up. All right, y'all. Please share this with somebody who's on their personal development journey, and hopefully they can get something out of it. And appreciate you as always, brother.
I always appreciate you, man. Love you.
Love you too, man. All right, we'll see you next week. Bye.